Welcome to Chok Muay Chats. I'm Joe Comerford, ex-fighter, commentator and content creator based here in Thailand, living here for 5 years. Today I'm joined by fighter and media mogul commentator Hugh O'Donnell, hailing from Sydney. So welcome Hugh, thanks for being on here and thanks for your time. So obviously you're over here in Thailand at the moment. Can you walk us through a little bit about why you're here and what the experience has been like so far?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. I'm over here for a little over a month. So I got here the very last day of June, and I think I'm out of here first, second day of August. Should probably figure that out. I'm staying over in Bangkok, training at PK Sanchai. It's my first time in Thailand in a good while, actually. The last time I was here was pre-COVID. Right up until I think I left in March of 2020. And just with the way the world didn't make it over. So I've trained at PK Sanchai before. The camp takes really good care of me. It's always super cool to kind of just train alongside the superstars. And I booked it worked out quite well. I've been trying to I'm always trying to get back over here, like a lot of fighters are. It took me some time, and I kind of just said a little bit earlier in the year, just like there's always going to be a reason. It's getting pushed back for this or that, and life gets in the way, and just lock in the dates, organise it with work, and that's when you'll be gone. So I, at home, have just been really... I follow what's going on in Thailand quite closely, and I've been very excited by it, especially recently. I think things have been accelerating a lot in the last sort of 12 months, and it's a very, very good time to be a foreign fighter in Thailand. So knowing that I've got this good relationship with PK Sanchai and Game, the manager, I'm often talking to him about what the potential opportunities are and getting back over here. So I locked in that time, and then the way it shook up was the Rebellion Muay Thai 8-man eliminator. It was at my weight at 70 kilos. I got a spot in that, and that's for mid-August. So I've got the month of July. I kind of got a month training camp here, and then still have 2 weeks to go home and reacclimatise and finalise preparation. So while the initial plan was to come over here to fight, it ended up being just a really good opportunity to just hammer out some time to just fully focus, train out here in the heat, get some elite levels sparring and clinching done, and just focus all my energy into getting ready for the 8-man. So
I think that's something you just mentioned there is having the time to fully focus on your training in Thailand. A lot of people, they sort of come over here expecting that, they're going to get the magic sauce or, the secrets of Muay Thai from Thailand. But I think that the level of training is so high abroad now that really it's about volume and also just being able to focus on it. You don't have to get home from work. You don't have to go home after training and cook your own food. It just eliminates a lot of the pressures from the West and giving yourself that focus. What do you think about that?
There's a couple of things, and that's a really good one to touch on, because we were talking about it on the way up, and it's something I found very interesting. It's been, like I said, it's been a few years since I've been here training. I trained at PK Sanchai the last time I was here too, and I can talk a little bit more about what training there is like and what's brought me back to PK. But what is also interesting is the last time I came to Thailand, I fought for a different gym back in Australia. So I have kind of come here where the training that I'm leaving from home has been very different situation. So I used to train at a gym that was not the most, I suppose not the truest Muay Thai style, and the training methodology was quite different in that sense. So when I would come to Thailand, I feel like I fought a lot before I ever made it to Thailand. Like the first time, I've had 2 trips prior to this one, and I'd probably had 20 something fights to my name. I was already a professional at home before I ever got here. But I do feel my first trip to Thailand was a real eye-opener to me as to what really training Muay Thai in an authentic way. Well, some people throw that word around, authentic, when it comes to Muay Thai, but I had fought a lot, but I really had not. There were a lot of nuances of Thai boxing that I had never even been introduced to. And honestly, it was quite humbling. It was quite like, I should know more than I know. Because, you know, we get fussed about, especially in the West, about like how many fights we've had. And it's that little bit of like, no, I should know more than this. I've already had 20 fights. And there was, honestly, there was a little bit of like, what have I been doing this whole time? Whereas that was one of the reasons that influenced me to like, obviously you don't go home to Australia like trying to copy every single thing that gets done in Thailand, because there's always going to be differences to the training that makes sense in the West versus the training that makes sense over here. And you have to train a little bit differently when, as you say, you've got to organise it around your life, and it's not your only pursuit. But my first time training in Thailand did kind of influence me to come home and make some changes to how I was training at home, because I got like a really hard introduction to what I was missing and had some time to think about, you know, I can't continue to miss that if I'm going to climb to that next level. So now coming to Thailand this time, I train for a different gym. I train for, I fight at a Sitsaton, and we are a very Thai-influenced Muay Thai gym. In a crazy way these days, like, we have 3 Thai trainers in the gym. So in that sense now, I don't come over and feel like I'm coming here to get something that I don't have at home. Like, I have full faith in the level of my training at home. Like, my head trainer Aram knows a lot about Muay Thai.
Oh yeah, he's a walking encyclopedia. He thinks he's Thai trapped in a Spaniard's body, you know.
And he's an excellent trainer. He knows, like I say, he's a Muay Thai encyclopedia, and he just has a massive heart for it too. And he knows that, like, he and I have always worked very, very well together. Like, he's the person that I trust the most in the world in the corner. And, you know, and then doing the day-to-day stuff, we've got Crew 1 Shalom, Chanajan, Crew Prakasang, who actually came to us from PK Senchai. So that's kind of made my connection to the gym a little bit closer. And of course,
well, that's a good thing. It brings the divide between the culture a little bit closer. That's good.
And my kind of the guy I work with the most at home now, Crew Chet, who was before coming to us, he was Yotseng Klai's full-time trainer.
Oh, okay. So there's a wealth of
that's experience. A lot of experience, and that's why I have to be grateful for what I've got at home. As much as I love coming out here, I try to check some of the guys at the gym that are always wanting to vanish off to Thailand, because I say go over there and figure it out. That, you know, and I think one of the biggest learnings I've had coming to Thailand is that, like you said, no one waves a magic wand and makes your technique pretty, and you learn. I think that's one of the humbling things about coming here too, is that you learn the way they train is not rocket science, it's repetition. But that being said, being here is a chance to just be immersed in that training. You wake up, you train. If you're really here to be dialed in on it, I think a lot of people get lost a little bit when they come here. But you sleep, you train again, and you learn what you're capable of when you eliminate some of those extra, not even necessarily distractions. I wouldn't say I ever struggled to focus at home, but you've got extra stresses.
Yeah, I think look, there's a couple of different types of people in Thai boxing that come over here. You know, there's the 100% professionals such as yourself who live and breathe it. And then there would have been people who, like myself, and I used to come here who was, I love the sport, but, you know, I also love the party more than actually hard training. So it was dipping into the distractions. And then the other people are sort of just the fans, you know.
And you know what I'd say to that is, cool, right? Like, there's something for everyone. I just the fully fledged professional, so to speak, and like the trip that I'm on right now. Like, a lot of people, you know, I get messages from home like, "Oh, you're having fun? Like, what have you been up to?" I said, I am having fun. This is what I love to do, but I'm not doing anything. Like,
just training, yeah.
Training. This is like what I'm here for is not to go on some grand adventure. It's seriously just to have the time, and it's also a resources thing, right? Like at home, like I said, at home we don't struggle for resources. I'm lucky because we have so many trainers. But in terms of when everyone's got their life to manage, are the guys that can really push me in the clinch going to be in the gym tonight, or have they got to work late? Or whereas when you come to Thailand, you have that stable. There is always
particularly at somewhere like PK where you've just got such a huge stable of fighters. You know, it's like particularly at your weight and your size. You know, it's not something that you ever have to worry about.
Yeah. And you've probably, like, I think you've seen some pictures. Like I've been throwing Talan Chai, I've been clinching Kana. It's crazy. And I also think the way that a gym like PK has, a gym that's really a part of this push on the international shows, like the Big on One Championship, it has kind of made the training style more open to foreigners because, of course, where in the past you might struggle as a foreigner to train with the elite level Thais is because we don't know the stadium game like they do.
No.
And that's very hard to work you into training to make you a useful training partner. Whereas now, when these guys are going to fight on one championship, they need a greater mix of styles and they need to, I suppose, a little bit adjust to, with the scoring being different and some of those very specifically stadium elements falling away, it does help the Thais a little bit more to have a mixed bag of foreign styles, I think. So there's been a lot of enthusiasm to get a wider mix of guys working together. Not that there wasn't before, it's just that foreigners in the past had to almost learn an entire new sport coming over here if they were to stand up to the training for stadium fights. It is it's a beautiful game, but there's a lot of learning that a lot of foreigners aren't here long enough to do.
No, and I mean particularly with the visa situations, the visa situations which have been increasingly harder to navigate over the last couple of years, and especially post-pandemic. You know, it's a double-edged sword with that because I mean, what it does do is it gets rid of a lot of the rotten elements here in Thailand. And I actually appreciate their hard line stance on foreign policy here because of that. But it also does make it very hard for people who want to be involved in the national sport to compete regularly. So yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword there, but that is something that plays into that of the foreigners not being here long enough to be able to play the stadium game, and that's why I think it's probably like now's a really exciting time for Muay Thai.
It is,
because you've got the boost of all the entertainment shows and all the what we call the foreign shows. Giving the chance to these guys, okay, they can come over for 2 months. Yeah. Get ready for that, and they're actually able to fight against high level Thais. Whereas before, there was that kind of urban myth about you had to knock a Thai out to win.
Yeah, which is
like back in the old the John Wayne Parr days and the Raymond Decker days when all those guys were fighting on the stadiums. Really, that was the only way that they could win because. The favour is always going to be into the local hero.
Yeah, and that was, you hear these stories about you won't beat a Thai in Thailand, and a lot of that was actually more so due to the foreigners just not having the resources to understand how to win in the stadium. So really, all you could do was double down. It wasn't the way that it was perceived, where it was just kind of corrupt officiating and things like that. It was actually just the foreigners. We got here without an understanding of how the scoring worked. It was very distinctly different to the scoring at home. So it kind of just felt like it was knockout only to win.
And that's one of the things, I've been involved in the sport for more than 10 years and still scoring baffles me. Yeah. Because, it's not consistent between every single stadium and it's not consistent between every single, especially when you start going overseas. Yeah. Different sanctioning bodies having different rules. Recently I commentated on a big and the rules were completely different there than to traditional Muay Thai scoring. And the there they were having a go at me because I was saying that sweeps look good in the judge's eyes, but they're like, no.
Yeah.
So the inconsistency between scoring as well is another one that kind of baffles me, especially now with the entertainment shows, because everything's a little bit different.
Yeah, and a lot of the kind of differences in scoring between, for example, an entertainment show and a stadium show, they're not, if the scoring is different, the scoring is different. That's something for the athletes and the trainers to understand. But I often find that they aren't black and white. It's not like it's written or publicly available. You can see from watching the fights and what wins favour with the judges where the kind of scoring leans, but it's not something that you can just open a rule book and read, which is quite frustrating. And one championship is a good example because they're investing in bringing in high level foreign officials. So with that, like, my friend and mentor of mine, Elias Delopsis, comes over here quite regularly. So to me, and that's a fantastic resource for me. He's at our gym too. That's a fantastic resource for me as well to kind of learn scoring. And he describes it as not being different to what he was taught. He's a stadium schooled official. So it's difficult because I'm involved in officiating at home, and the inconsistency in scoring styles is one of the most frustrating things for me. What it says, maybe not as a fan, as an advocate, as someone who wants more people to be fans of Muay Thai, because sometimes you sit down and you watch like a proper Muay Thai fight with someone who's interested but is not as close to the sport as we are, and they go, why did the red corner win that? And you can kind of explain to them and say, no, you're just seeing it wrong. But then sometimes when the scoring is so different across the board, you don't want to sit down with someone. Like, I love the idea that if you're watching, like, Muay Thai to me is the most entertaining combat sport that there is. And I think everyone's going to have their own piece. If you like MMA, that's you. If you like boxing, that's you. To me, Muay Thai is the most entertaining. But regardless of whether it's the most entertaining, I think it's to anyone any layman who is just enjoys combat sports, I think you'll enjoy Muay Thai. So I want to help someone who's watching the sport for the first time understand it, and I think when you understand it, that's what makes it much more exciting and much more beautiful, because you can learn what scores to look for. But if I, as someone who is pretty obsessed with it, can sit down with someone uninitiated and they can go, why did the red corner win that? And I can go, man, I don't know. That's where it's a little, because it's like, I don't know. Yeah, like sometimes it's just a little random. That's frustrating. Like, you want to help people. You can sit down with someone and help them understand it the way you understand it, and then that can go on to make no sense in a different fight. Like, that to me is one of the most frustrating things.
Yeah. And I suppose, one of the tricky things about bringing over foreign judges, not saying that it's a bad idea at all or anything like that. No criticism to the guys over there, because they do a hard job, and then they're always under scrutiny. I've never sat in the judging corner or the ref, been the middleman in the ring, but when you've got so many different people from so many different walks of life who are coming from a particular set of rule sets, so you might have guys that are coming from a more, say, in Eastern Europe, it's more of a kickboxing style. Yeah, it's quite kickboxing Muay Thai. The style of effective aggression would be seen differently to, say, somebody in the UK where traditional Muay Thai is a little bit more emphasized. So I think that's a tricky thing for promotions to navigate now as well, is because I was talking to Bank about this, because Muay Thai is getting so globalized. He talks about that the reason RWS is still doing the big gloves and doing all the wire crews because they want a home for people to come to. So whenever we expand overseas so much, at least there's like a home base where, okay, these are like the standardized rules.
A reference point, a global reference point. Yeah, it's cool. And I mean, just to I guess, segue off of that, I've been to the RWS. That was one of the things I was most excited about coming over, and they are doing a beautiful job of hybridizing traditional Thai boxing out of Rajadamnern Stadium, because I've been to Raja Stadium before, the kind of facelift, and I do love the way I'm pretty young, but I am something of a traditionalist, like a little bit of a natural skeptic when it comes to really changing things. And sometimes, like, there was in this wave of, you know, the Lumpini refurb, and I mean, like, Lumpini obviously closed the old stadium and then opened the new one, and then refurb that stadium and introduced it. That was going on around about the same time as the Raja Stadium got a bit of a facelift and that facelift was almost to make way for Raja World Series. And it did kind of feel like all at once the whole sport was starting to tip towards that entertainment format. Yeah,
and you know, we spoke about this, and I've spoken to this with a couple of other commentators, you know, before COVID, Muay Thai was dying a slow death.
Absolutely.
Like, it was dying a slow death. It had some really, really nefarious elements in the sport that were pushing the average punter away.
Yes.
They thought it was this sort of, you know, this seedy underbelly that was controlling the sport. And now with this sort of renewal, like the Phoenix coming out of the ashes, like RWS and one championship, it's giving a more accessible platform for the average punter, you know. So, for example, like RWS, you go there and it's like going to a baseball stadium.
It is, yeah.
You know, and I was talking to the director of it, and he was saying, you know, our mission is for families, if they want to watch Muay Thai, they can come to somewhere like as if it was the NBA.
Yeah.
You know, and they're doing a fantastic job of that.
They are, and I feel the last time I was here, and I kind of keep coming back to that just because that's my reference point. Like, there's years in the middle, but to me, it's just two trips and coming to the same place. You had over in Pattaya, like, you know, the Max Muay Thai thing, and that was almost aggressively a different look to Stadium Muay Thai. It was all fireworks and big screens, and that elements of that have been taken by RWS, but I feel what they're doing is not trying to repackage the sport. It's just it's adding elements that can put a little bit of a megaphone to, like, the personality. Like, last night, a good example is Nung Lan Lek.
Yeah.
He walks out and he does this, you know, like, super flamboyant kind of dance and a big long ram mui, and then he fights. Beautiful, aggressive Muay Thai, because he is a Thai boxing fighter. It's not using scoring or not trying to change the way that he fights, the way he represents his style, but it's just letting him be him. And that is really, that's the most important thing. People a lot of kind of the old heads complain about this sort of format, but at the end of the day, like, I don't think anyone's making Nunlan Lek do that. I think it's just a new format for him to show a little bit of personality on his way to the ring, and it's fun, man. The crowd loves it, and the biggest thing that I've seen is I've been to Raja Stadium a few times, and I've seen incredible fights there with elite stadium fighters, and it being empty. Some tourists in ringside seats, sort of club class, completely empty. Few gamblers, and that's it. Because also, you know, people can kind of gamble from home now too. Yeah. So it's like, it's packed, and also the crowd are getting behind the boxers because they see characters. They're just given a little bit, you know, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. A lot of the guys just walk out there, but they're being given a platform to show some character. And a really good example is Danny Rodriguez. Yeah, when he walked out. This was last week before last.
Yes, yeah.
Week before last,
2 weeks
ago. When he walked out, that place went wild. He's not a Thai fighter. You know, he's European, he's Swiss. The place went crazy, and people were there to see him, and that's what you need. Is like, that is modern sports. They've built him. He's of course got this incredible undefeated record. So he's building a lure in that way. And now you're giving the platform to really get people in the door, and they're there to see Danny Rodriguez, and that's it. That's what we need. They've built an international star within the oldest stadium in Muay Thai, and that's how we bring the whole sport forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and going back to that idea of, you know, the old heads complaining, sort of the old nerds. You know, I love 5-round Muay Thai,
Me too.
but it's not an accessible form for the average punter.
It's not. And also, you look and it comes to that idea of building characters and building stars. This whole RWS thing progresses to 5-round finals. So if it takes these 3-round fights to, like, I think there's, like, I prefer 5-round fights. If you had me design the show that's just going to entertain me and I'm the one person sitting in the stands that it's all for, every fight's 5 rounds.
Yeah.
As a fighter, I'd rather all my fights be 5 rounds.
Yeah,
I just like 100%. It better. I enjoy it better. However, if you can tell me over the course, you can do these entertaining fights, and over the course of, that's the other thing, is building that story that if you're watching the RWS, you see Danny Rodriguez, he's going to be back in a few weeks for the next round. It moves like a season. Then that will finish with a 5-round fight in the finals. That's cool. That's really, really cool. And the other side is, with the 3-round thing, is I've watched a lot of fights in the last 3 weeks. Like a lot of fights. I also have been going to Ratchadamnern on the Sunday for the Kiapet fights. Yep. They're 5 rounds, and they're also still... I'm yet to make it out to Muay Man Wun Suk, but on Thursday, which is also in my plans.
Fridays,
the PND show. That's also my plan, because I watched that. I actually watched that live at home on YouTube quite a lot, and that's probably my favourite.
Yep.
I think, that and RWS are probably my 2 favourite shows, but I think probably the PND fights are. But I had a great time at the Kiapet show, and that's kind of another model in and of itself. It's 5-round fights. It's that more traditional stadium style, but it's still got a bit of flavour. It's still using that new stadium format. I like it, and I also think for the kind of changed face of Muay Thai, it's just modernising. This is how products are sold today, is you package them to exactly what the individual audience wants, and we just live in a world where you can subscribe to what you want. And that's what the stadium looks like now. Go there on any night of the week and there's a show with a slightly different face. And so if the 3-round fights are your thing, show up on Saturday. If you prefer the 5, do Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Go to what you want to go to. And I think by not saying this is what Muay Thai is and you have to like it, and instead being like, here's 4 different kind of versions of Muay Thai that are still all Muay Thai. They're not they're not shifting too far.
No, and at the end of the day, like, you hear a lot of people complaining that, like, oh, you know, real Muay Thai is dead, traditional Muay Thai is dead. Real Muay Thai is not going to die. No. At the grassroots level, like all the Muay Watch shows, which are like the temple shows, all the grassroots stadiums in the provinces, even at home, there's always going to be 5-round traditional Muay Thai. It's not going to die. What it is it serves as a way for fighters to get experience, play the stadium game so that their technique is better, and then they can come in and put a more entertaining fight for the entertainment shows. That's the way I see it, is now 5-round stadium Muay Thai is for the development to get onto those high-level, high-paying shows, you know? Yeah,
and the other side of that is, show me a sport that has looked exactly the same for 100 years.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, things change. Things change. I think that actually can be a problem, maybe even globally, when it comes to the development of Muay Thai generally, is people being so firmly resistant to change. Where it's like, everyone wants Muay Thai to be more popular, more widely accepted, and just bigger. But also at the same time, no one wants anything to change. And it's you can't have both of those things.
I feel like it comes from this attitude of, like, no disrespect to, like, foreigners within the sport, but there's almost like this attitude that amongst a lot of foreigners involved in the sport here, that they have to be the gatekeepers of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a common theme back home. It's like, oh, you know, I trained in Thailand for a year. I know more than you do. And, you know, the only way that we can expand the sport and give more opportunities to fighters is to kind of let go of that gatekeeping.
Open the door. Yeah. Open the door. This is one of my biggest things about, and like, I'm glad you mentioned that, because something I've seen for years is people, when I was coming up, I touched on at the very beginning, I discovered Muay Thai training at a gym that was not a Muay Thai gym. I needed all the help I could get. And some of the biggest influences on my career have been people that were willing to answer a message, share their knowledge, talk to me on the phone. And like, I have one of the greatest assets that I have in my, not just in my Muay Thai career, because it carries over to my whole life, is incredible friends. Incredible friends that have been willing, just incredible people that have been willing to help me. To the point of, oh, you don't understand that. Come to my gym and I'll show you. I'll introduce you to so-and-so. But I've also seen, on the other side of that, people that are so stubbornly protective of the idea that they have this, maybe they have an experience that they feel gives them an element of status, and they're more concerned with showing how much more they know than certain people, than spreading the info. And then it's like, this is what I know and this is the way that I know. And with that comes never having any respect for a younger person trying to make their mark too. And that is how we cannot, as a community, have kind of the old guard just trying to grip onto everything the way that it was in their day and never letting anything change, because that's not how sports develop. You really have to take this mentality that I've learned so much about things the way they were in my day or the way they are today. Let me hand the baton and take that into a modern sporting landscape and help push the whole thing further.
I mean, like, you even look at, like, you know, rugby's huge in Australia, right? Rugby's a big sport, and even the development over the last 20 years of that has been totally different.
Yeah.
You know, all the different, like, you know, sevens rugby, and then you've got all the old, you know, you've got all the old sort of like Catholic schoolboys teams at you know, school level going, oh, no, sevens rugby, no. You know, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same through all sports. You know, we've got to let go of this. Yeah, it really comes down to a personal level of like letting go of your own ego. It's all ego, and
it's like I'm not someone who knows anything about Muay Thai yet. I want to. I'm trying to learn everything that I can. However, the attitude that I have today, and the attitude that if I ever get to a place where I'm the guy who knows a lot, or when I've got this experience in many more years, like, my attitude today is, if I've learned something, I try to help as much as I can, like kind of the younger ones coming up in the gym. And not even just my gym, just in the whole sport. Like, if I learned this when I was in Thailand, there's no reason I should just have that. You take it and run with it. And also, you take it and add what you can add to it, and go on, you do better. Like, my attitude is, I've come along. If you've come along after me, I should be able to help you do better than I ever did. And if everyone takes that attitude, the sport exponentially improves.
Yeah, it's a big reason for a lot of the stuff I do is because of, you know, such a dodgy career, like a pretty failed career at the end, and then still coming out the tail of then that 5 years of not looking after myself. At least I'm in a position now where I can tell young fighters not to do what I did. You know, listen to your coaches. Do things for your media profile. And that's why I do a lot of the social media stuff, because I do a lot of free stuff for fighters to help them get a quicker trajectory up the ladder. Because we didn't have that when we were fighting in the amateurs, you know?
Yeah.
Like, remember in the mid-2000s, it was, if you want to make any money from this, you have to sell 10 tickets. That would be $100 because you'd only get $10 on the tickets. And who's going to come watch you? I mean, my family certainly weren't going to come. Yeah, my family certainly weren't I saw one fight, and then they said that was enough for them.
Enough, yeah.
So it's like people have got to be willing to help and not think about themselves so much.
Yeah.
That's not what this sport is about.
And the sport only grows as a collective. That is the only way that we have the power to influence any kind of change. And I feel in Australia the tide has shifted a lot in that when I start, I've been kind of observing the sport even quite a lot longer than I have been even competing in it. Because I've been in the gym a long time.
Yeah.
I probably first rolled into the gym at 13 years old, and there wasn't really a junior scene then. I wanted to fight, but it was a while before I could get on a roll. And I remember a day where gyms wouldn't work together. There would never be any concept of, we're going to bring in some superstar for a seminar. Let's all come together and attend it at one gym. It was like, I don't know, this idea of we don't want to share secrets or whatever.
Yeah, it was a funny time back then because, people wouldn't work together.
They wouldn't. They really wouldn't.
They wouldn't work together. Whereas now you see, gyms in New South Wales working really closely with ones in Perth, ones in Victoria, Queensland. Everybody's helping each other out.
And I think it's that fighting is, of course, and Thai boxing it's fighting at the end of the day, and that's an important thing to remember. But it's by nature adversarial. But I think as we've started to do these amateur pathways programs and things like that, we realise we need our guys competing with each other for the purpose of making each other better. And I see a lot of really cool examples of, you go to these Muay Thai New South Wales and Muay Thai Victoria junior days, and it's so sweet. You get these kids, they show up, they see each other. It's the same little pool of guys. I'm focusing on the juniors now. They show up, they play, they do the draw, they jump in, they fight each other, they get out, they play again, and it's making it a sport. And kind of, I guess my attitude to it's really been, I remember guys taking a far too serious attitude to grassroots level fighting in the beginning. This rule, they weren't letting amateurs be amateurs. They face off and get in the ring, and that built this kind of us versus them mentality. It was really when you're fighting at a novice amateur level, you're not even really fighting yet, you're finding your feet.
Yes.
And then you just need to let guys get in there and do it with no pressure. And that involves gyms kind of being cool with each other and I've seen lots of cool examples as well. Pinky and Alexi Petrulius both have two young girls that have fought each other 3 or 4 times or something it's cool. Alexi comes over and I was in South Australia when they fought on the Undercut of Kali show in Pride, and Alexi comes over and stays with Pinky. They wear each other's shirts to the ring. The girls fight and they genuinely have a good time. Yeah. And they're saying, they want the girls to fight 10 times. They just think, and because they're seeing them, and that's quite Thai style, isn't it? They're young, and you're getting these two fighting each other multiple times you see the improvement because you're just putting it under the same test, and their styles are getting cleaner, and there's no animosity whatsoever. It's not a rivalry.
No, you see, Pinky's one of those guys who really is about the community.
Yeah.
He does a lot for the sport down in...
And when I mentioned earlier, how lucky I am to have great friends that have been willing to help me, he's one of the first names that comes to mind. I talk to him a lot. The first time I ever met him, he was in the corner against me. And I was I really used to use his social media as a resource because he posts a lot of information. And he's an encyclopedia too.
He's been in the sport for a very long time.
And
he was over here for a long time as well.
Yeah, how I first started to speak to him, and this is kind of where I was at that stage in my career, because I needed to get real Muay Thai info externally. I went over to say thanks to the other corner and just thanked him for all the info and told him I was a big fan of his work. And I often ask him questions, and I hope now, with more years in the sport, that he sees talking to me as more of a discussion. Maybe he will one day, but it's still me just I need to know more about this, can you tell me about this? And it's just someone I just go-to to bounce an idea off.
Yeah. Well, he's a good guy. He cornered me for my very last fight.
He's cornered most of Australia, I think.
Yeah, I think he's Pinky professional corner.
Yeah, he's never cornered me, actually.
Oh, really? He's a good guy. He's a good guy. Right, so let's talk a little bit about the 8-man. So how are you feeling for the 8-man? What do you think it's going to be like?
What do I think it's going to be like is a good question, because I think it's getting ready for an 8-man. I've never done an 8-man before. Like a lot of people have never done an 8-man before. It's quite a unique thing. I feel great. I'm excited. Look, first and foremost, like, I'm just excited. It's an exciting idea. If I wasn't in the 8-man, I'd be excited about the 8-man, sit in the stands and watch it. The idea being involved, like, to me, it's a big thing. Is like, I'm just a huge fan. I've watched all the Rebellion 8-mans before. I remember the first one, the Thai nut that went on to win it. He did a seminar at my gym.
Yep.
Before I watched that, so it's a cool thing to reflect on. That now, 10 or so years later, the 8-man is on and we get the call. That's sick. And the idea that I'm going to go out there and win it is fucking sick too, because there's some pretty sweet prize money. But what do I expect it to be like? I don't think you can have an expert. Like, it's one, to me, I was an old K1 mark back in the day too. The 8-man is one of the craziest, most high drama sporting events that there is. Like, stories that watching, because there's always the story behind a fight. Yeah. But then there's the story behind a fight with the added context of a fight that came just an hour before, and like 3 fights, full Thai rules in one night. Yeah. It's crazy, and it's scary, to be honest. It's a scary thought, but I've always, my whole career, the ones that scare me the most are the ones that bring the best out of me always. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited for this one, is because like I've fought quite a lot. I've fought quite a lot in Australia. You don't want things to become business as usual, because I think we're at our best when we're a little bit scared. And like, I'm excited to be uniquely scared again, to go out there and do something different. So I'm excited for 8-man. I feel lucky to be here. Like, I think 8-man, I don't think you can't, in a detailed way, prepare for 7 different people, and you don't know who you're going to fight and which. So I've got stylistic ideas of all 7 guys that I'm taking steps to practice for. I have different ideas for how I would approach someone in a first fight versus a second fight versus a third, but there's always, like, I just really feel you've got to just be able to roll with the punches in this one, because
fight your own fight.
If you're too fixed on a plan, there is too many elements that are beyond your control, and that will be your undoing. So I think being here in Thailand is really, really good for an 8-man for a couple of reasons. The kind of added endurance element of training in Thailand, like, I think I've been doing a lot of running out in the heat. That'll be great for the recovery in between fights, that aerobic base for one, but also just like the strength in the legs. Like, Thailand training is great for building just an overall sort of resilience. And the mix of styles, foreigners, Thais, that's what we've got. We don't know who we're going to get on the night. And at PK, we've got elite level guys, all from different kinds of backgrounds, all from different styles to clinch with, to spar with. I'm feeling great about it.
And going into that a little bit, what's it like training at PK?
Look, PK, man, I am super grateful for how well I've been taken care of there. Like, I think, honestly, the first time I was coming to Thailand to train here, my first trip to Thailand was to Sichapo, which was, I'm super lucky for that time. I love Crew F, and I think that's
very technical gym.
Incredible gym for someone like me who really needed to learn Muay Thai, because that's the place you go to learn. They teach in quite a Western style. PK is very much a Bangkok gym. You're not going to do a class or kind of drill in the way that we get used to. So I'd say PK is an incredible place to come for a fight camp, because it's a place to come and rev your engine. You're going to run, you're going to kick the bag, you're going to kick the pads, you're going to spar good dudes, you're going to clinch good dudes. It's nothing, it's just hard work of fight specific stuff, and that's what you need when you're getting ready for a fight, is just to put your body in that kind of condition. I think you got to be, like, I really believe anyone coming to Thailand there's so many great gyms. It's the most important thing is to know what you want to get out of it. And having been to PK before, that's what I needed here is elite quality sparring, clinching partners. But also I needed, the relationship's really important. Like I talked to, interestingly, I talked to Game, he's the manager. I told him about the 8-man. I said, this is what I need. And he told me we're going to do this. I also introduced him to my trainer at home and they've been working back and forth, which is very, very helpful. That's a really important thing to consider. But also when I got here, they almost accepted a spot in the 8-man for Chana John.
Oh, wow.
So told me they would have had to, that was after I had discussed with him coming here. He said, you would have arrived and I would have said, get lost.
Yeah.
That worked out okay.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's good.
So where can people watch the 8-man that's coming up?
Rebellion Muay Thai.com.au will do the live stream. I think it'll be on livecombatsports.com.au, but Rebellion Muay Thai on Instagram and Facebook will share all the details.
What date's it happening?
August 12th. Live from the Melbourne Pavilion. So if you're in Australia, I think this one's going to be a pretty quick sellout. It's a pretty cool event. I've got bunch of people flying in for it, which is going to be sick. And I think they like me in Victoria. There's no Victorians in the bracket. No locals in the 8-man bracket, which is pretty true to style. Precise. I think the Victorians are going to adopt me for this one. I think they like me down there.
Yeah. So, and if you don't know Rebellion, you should definitely go and check it out on August 12th. Correct?
12th, yep.
Thanks, Hugh, for coming on. I know we sort of segued a little bit. And
that's me. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It's a natural part of the conversation. So, thank you very much for your time. I'm Joe Comerford. This is Hugh O'Donnell fighting August 12th in Melbourne on the 8-man for 25,000 Australian dollars. I believe in baht, that's about 800, 900,000 baht. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Sweet amount of money.
Nice little pay packet. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, Joe Comerford Muay Thai. Until next time, see you guys later.